Hello, everyone. This is Becky Carlin, Communications Director here at LiveWell, Colorado. I will be one of your moderators for today's webinar, and I just want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So first, we will be recording today's webinar, and to access the webinar, you can go onto our website, livewellcolorado.org, tomorrow afternoon. We will also be sending a link to a recording of the webinar and a follow-up email that you will receive tomorrow as well. And second, we will have some time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. And to ask a question, simply type it into your on-screen control panel. And if possible, please let us know who your question is directed to. So now I'd like to turn things over to Lisa Walvoord, VP of Policy here at LiveWell, Colorado. Lisa.
Great. Thank you, Becky. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have sort of a different topic than we have had of late. We're going to be talking about opportunities to connect Colorado communities to their food system through food and nutrition education. And we have a great lineup of presenters as always, so we start off with a big thank you to all of them. Our objectives for today's call are to help you become more familiar with the efforts that are out there to educate youth, families, and adults about their food, where it comes from, and how to prepare it. This is a piece of healthy food access that often gets left out, and we really believe that the education and awareness component of food is going to be essential for people to actually consume the healthy food. The old construct of if you build it, they will come does not hold true for much, and it definitely doesn't hold true here. So the education component is particularly important. It's been really a highlight, actually. I think this week there was an interesting blog on the New York Times talking about the importance of getting kids cooking as part of their nutrition education. A lot being talked about lately in the news about the lack in home economics, and when and it's going on a couple generations now within schools, so that if you don't learn how to cook in school, or you don't learn how to cook somewhere, you're not going to cook for your family, and then your family doesn't learn. So it is across the entire continuum that we need to address this. So I think we have three presentations today. The first is Food for Thought, which is a high school curriculum program. Next, we're going to hear about the Integrated Nutrition Education Program that's focused on families, and then Cooking Matters that takes a full community perspective. And then, as Becky mentioned, we will have Q&A at the end, so please do capture your questions as we go along and direct them specifically to the presenters. So our first presenter is Cathy Schmelter with An Ounce of Nutrition, and she'll be talking about the Food for Thought High School Curriculum Program. So Cathy, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Lisa and Becky. I'm honored to be here. This is a lot of fun. You can go on to the first slide. Just wanted to see if you were all awake today. This was actually a slide that we do in our energy drink class to show students how much caffeine is in there. So I thought that would be a fun way to start. Okay, next one. Our goal really with Food for Thought, the high school curriculum program, is to help catalyze students into really wanting to become food advocates who will take on revolutionizing the future of food. That's really our goal. So really thinking about where their food comes from, how it's made, how the food choices they make impact their personal health, and also how they impact the world around them. But we also want them to have an understanding of how they can make a difference. And one of their projects is to write a letter to someone of influence. And this is an example. This is an actual letter that a student from William Smith High School wrote to their mayor about the fact that there are no grocery stores in their area where they can get fresh produce. So really getting them to feel like their opinion matters. Okay, next slide. So there are 10 topics as part of the curriculum, and they're all involved in farm to school, or farm to table, I'm sorry, farm to table. So they learn about how food is grown, how it's processed, how it's distributed, marketed, sold, consumed, so the whole gamut. And we use a train-the-trainer approach with teachers. We are in the classroom for usually a semester or a quarter long, and however they want to do it. If they want to implement it every day, if they want to implement it once a week. We do a lot of planning with teachers to kind of figure out what works best for them. And we have the traditional lesson plans and PowerPoints, of course, that go along with this. But it's really also very important to us that they experience some real-life activities. So next slide. So one of those is we do a lot of labs. And for example, at Mountain View High School in Loveland, this program is being taught in their family and consumer science class. So I really like this class because not only do they learn a lesson, but then they also do some kind of cooking activity that's connected to the lesson. So for example, at Thanksgiving time, they did an activity where they made homemade Thanksgiving stuff, and then they also used some of the processed and more packaged stuff. So they made like stovetop stuffing and canned yams and box mashed potatoes, and they compared the two. And the students actually preferred the homemade version better, although some students still like the stovetop stuffing. So we say that was kind of a taste thing. So baby steps definitely. So next slide. And we also do an incredible amount of activities with students. And I'm really bummed to tell you that our video is not working because actually in Salida last week, the students learned about how many unhealthy foods and how they're bombarded with unhealthy foods being marketed to them. So the teacher actually had them do videos with healthier options. So a couple of fruits and vegetables and water. And this video is really cool. And LiveWell is going to put this online so that you can view it at some point. But I just want to say that it's definitely a high school video, so be prepared for that. It's really fun, actually. And I do want to just mention about Salida High School. Like, we could not have had the impact that we have there without our strong partnership from Guidestone, who has been in the classroom and really help them with activities and cooking and going to grocery stores and doing field work. So just wanted to give a special shout out to them. So next slide. We usually do 1 or 2 field trips during the class. So this was a trip to Grant Family Farms, which I'm sad to say is no longer here. But Grant Family Farms has had a chicken bus. And so the chickens would live on the bus, and they would come out during the day and eat the grass, so that they would actually produce these incredibly nutritious eggs. And then at night, they would load them back on the bus and close the doors so they wouldn't be eaten by wild animals. And then every couple months, once they've kind of eaten the grass in an area, they would move the bus to another area, and then they would let them out there. So that was really cool. Next slide. And these are what the eggs look like. I've never seen anything like this, the speckled look. Next slide. And then we like to include a lot of films, a lot of speakers. LiveWell Colorado has been an amazing partner for us as far as providing speakers to come in and talk with students and share the work that they're doing. Tracy Boyle does an amazing presentation on marketing that the students have absolutely loved, and they've gotten a lot out of it. We saw, a really significant change in the classes that Tracy spoke to. Next slide. And then videos. Oh my goodness, high school students are all about videos. And the teachers actually have a really good video. I guess we're going to the video, so I will let that play first.
Did you say chocolate? Yes, sir. With or without nuts. Chocolate? Chocolate! 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 Finally! I've been trying to catch you boys all day!
So this was a class that I did actually on food and mood, and wanted to show the relationship between chocolate and mood. And so the students got a big kick out of that. Next slide. And as I mentioned before in Salida, we have a great partnership with Guidestone, but also, you know, we've had a lot of great partnerships internally, and specifically I want to speak to food service. I am amazed at how many food service organizations have come forward to support this program. At D11 we had the dietitian come in and we talked about different nutrients, and she shared with students how they could find those different nutrients in foods. And this picture is actually from Mountain View High School, where it was really interesting because the teachers had never connected with food service before this class. And by the end of this, you can see they ended up doing this giant vendor food fair where every student in the school was able to come in and sample the foods that they're serving and learn more about them. And then the students got to give their opinion on what they liked and what they didn't like. And based on that feedback, they're making some significant changes to their menu next year. Next slide. And then the students are required to at least complete one project, and this is the Deconstruct Their Snack project. So what we have students do is they go in and they pick their favorite snack, and then they have to list out all the ingredients in that snack and then do research on where it comes from, what it is, and how it impacts their health. They research the nutritional information and then also how it's marketed to them. And then this information is displayed on a poster board. You can see the poster board here, and shared with other students at a celebration at the end of the class. And it was really interesting because one of the teachers asked me, she said, is there a way for us to limit the amount of ingredients they research to 16? And I said, yeah, why? Did you have a student with more than 16 ingredients? And she said, oh yeah, we had a student that had 45 ingredients on their snack. So pretty interesting, and the students get a lot out of this project. Next slide. And our results have been pretty cool. We've seen students drinking less or giving up soda, drinking less or giving up fast food. They're eating more fruits and vegetables. They're more connected to the community. They want to get involved. They want to help change their food environment. It's just been a lot of good stuff that have come out of this. Next slide. And of course, you know, we could not have done this without some very passionate teachers. I mean, they really care about their students. They care about what they're learning. They want to make it fun. They want to make it creative. I mean, I honestly don't know how they do it. I've taught one of these classes and I was exhausted, and they teach several classes a day. But it's really cool to see their engagement. Actually, Sarah from Manual, I tried to get her to come with some of her students today, but unfortunately they have class. But, you know, she last week was really excited. She sent me a couple quotes from her students, and she says, look at what they're learning today. So just really engaged teachers that are really helping us with this program and help move it along. Next slide. And of course, what matters most to us is what the students are learning and their takeaway from the class. You know, what do they think? What are they getting out of this? How is it impacting them? How are they making changes? What can we do to support them after they're done with the class? And you know, they are really making changes to improve their health and their community. Some of the teachers have told me that this class has been life-changing for them. So it's very, very cool. Next slide. And I just wanted to end with this quote from a Manual High School student who said, this class has taught me that in order to reach my goal of being a healthy 93-year-old, I need to start taking good care of my body now. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Cathy. And if anybody has any questions for the content that Cathy just presented, please go ahead and start entering those questions now. LiveWell has been really fortunate to get to hear some of the reviews of these classes that have just been phenomenal. And as Cathy mentioned, my colleague Tracy Boyle is always so excited when she gets to go do these presentations. To engage these students, we truly are hopeful and believing that they're not just taking away from these classes changes to make for themselves, but what they can do in their homes, and ultimately to be our next generation of advocates. And that's really the hope. And I think between Cathy and these passionate teachers that we have, we're hopeful to see that. So next up, we have Luette and Julie Atwood to talk about the Integrated Nutrition Education Program. And I'm going to, are you up first, Julie?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I got some slides to go through too, and I'm going to try going through them fairly quickly because we do want to make sure we leave time for questions afterwards. For any of you who aren't aware of the Integrated Nutrition Education Program, we've been a community nutrition program out of the University of Colorado, what used to be the Health Sciences Center, for about 20 years now, working with schools. And we're an elementary-based curriculum. We have curriculum lessons grade-specific, kindergarten through 5th grade. We have been able to update those to the new Colorado Core Curriculum Standards, integrating mostly into science and literacy. But our real goal, of course, is nutrition education and behavior change. So we provide classroom teachers, who are actually the ones that teach these lessons, to the kids, and we provide them with the food and resource materials, the book that is written, the lessons written around, all of that's provided to the teachers weekly for a 12-lesson series of classes that they do throughout the year with their kindergarten through 5th graders. We feel a really important part of this is that we are using these lessons not only to encourage the kids to change their behaviors, but we're finding ways to connect choices they can make in the school lunchroom, as well as messaging that we can send home. Like I said, it's really an opportunity for these kids to try new foods by preparing them themselves. It exposes them to a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. And the materials that we provide that either the students are using or that are going to be going home to the families are provided in English and Spanish, because we do have a large Hispanic community that we're working with through our schools. Quick slide on our mission, which basically what we're really going for is behavior change. You know, it's wonderful for the kids to be exposed and have opportunities to try these foods, but what we're hoping is that year after year being exposed to this and the opportunities to make changes in the home, we're also going to see changes of behavior that will last, you know, for much longer, hopefully for the whole family. We have been able to demonstrate some increased fruit and vegetable intake through school lunchroom. We, of course, get good results in terms of kids are now feeling more empowered to make healthy choices. They can go home and help make a snack or make a salad with their family. We get great feedback from the family about how excited the kids are to bring these recipes home and what they've learned, and continue to try and find ways to link choices that they can make in the school lunchroom and the home. So I have a couple just quick slides that show you kids in action. Anything that you help make, you feel better about, so that's one of the fun sides of this program. It gives them an opportunity to try new foods that they may not have been exposed to before, but it's in a very safe, kind of non-threatening environment where they help wash it, they help prepare it, they do all that in the classroom. They don't have to taste it if they don't want to. But one of the fine things that we find, of course, is that if every other kid in the class is eating what you're afraid to try, it makes you a little more excited about trying something new. So we really capitalize on that. We did hear from a lot of parents that their kids have not had very many food preparation skills prior to these lessons. Now they're coming home and they really want to help, and it's really fun, especially, you know, the 4th and 5th grade boys who the moms will tell us, you know, they had not seen themselves being able to help in the kitchen, and now they really love it. And then, of course, there are classroom benefits as well, being able to work together in small groups, being able to do real hands-on education, it's a really fun time that the kids look forward to. It's probably one of their favorite times of, you know, teachers tell us all the time, kids are constantly asking, when's nutrition, when's nutrition? So all those stories are really encouraging for us to hear. Like I said, one of the strongest aspects of things that we're trying to partner with the whole community is how we can help connect the nutrition education lessons that the kids are learning in the classroom to what they can be taking home. Because if we've learned anything, I would share with you, it's that kids can be true agents of change. When they come home and they're excited about trying new foods, families feel like they'll be receptive to fruits and vegetables, they'll be receptive to making healthier choices. It makes the family that much more willing to kind of get on the bandwagon and join in there. So we do send newsletters home to the families with nutrition tips and recipes in English and Spanish. Each one of the lessons typically has a recipe that they've made in the classroom. Now they take the recipe home and they can make it together as a family. They're very simple recipes. There's not a lot of ingredients. We try and be very conscious of price and availability. But they are really a fun way for the kids to be able to talk about what they did in school today. We have a backpack take-home program for second graders where we send home nutrition tips and activities they can do together and books they can read in English and Spanish. We try and participate with each school in a parent night where we're reaching out to the parents when they come in for an event and making sure they're hearing about the lessons and helping them make those connections. And then there's a partnership that I can talk a little bit about a little bit later, but we're really trying to partner with two partners in particular through CSU, Colorado State University Extension, has a series of 8 adult nutrition education classes, and Cooking Matters also has a series of hands-on cooking nutrition education classes. And our schools have been very receptive and very excited to be connected with those resources, to bring those in and offer them to our parents along with their kids getting nutrition ed in the class. So I did want to point out that we are primarily funded through SNAP-Ed. SNAP is the Food Assistance Supplemental Nutrition Education Program that is funded through the Farm Bill. And the nutrition education side of it is intended that people who could qualify for food assistance for SNAP should also be getting some nutrition education along with the nutrition and food assistance benefits. And that's where SNAP-Ed comes in funding the parent education classes and INEP in the classroom, reaching out to the families, really trying to help impact how we can get nutrition information out to our families and their kids. Right now, we're currently in the San Luis Valley, Grand Junction area, and Greeley-Weld. We're also going to be moving back into Denver and Aurora on a limited basis next year. But we're currently working with about 5,000 students and their families who are doing that series of 12 lessons and the other benefits that come along with it. Don't want to spend much time on evaluation, but if anybody wants more information, they can get in touch with me. But we have been able to demonstrate some increase of consumption of fruits and vegetables in the lunchroom and food preferences, knowledge, those kinds of things. So I would say that really our highlights are the partnerships that we're really trying to work on to provide even more opportunities for adults to take nutrition education classes along with what the kids are learning. We're hearing wonderful stories all the time about parents who even have college-age kids and they're still making some of the recipes that their kids brought home, spicy corn salad or spinach salad with mandarin oranges or Chinese vegetable salad. Really fun things that the families have said this has really made a difference for how receptive the kids are to including healthier food choices at home as well. And then just that tip for everyone about really thinking about how you can include children if you're working with families, because getting them excited really helps the whole family to be more receptive. And then I'm going to turn it over to Luette, who is our coordinator down in the San Luis Valley. She has some things to share with you.
Hello, my name is Luette, and I'm the INEP coordinator in the San Luis Valley. And one of the wonderful things about INEP in the Valley and also around the state is that we have the ability to connect the efforts of many nutrition education programs and local food, community groups to our school community and to our families, which are largely Hispanic and low income, according to some of our free and reduced rates. So some of our work where we collaborate is we've culminated in the creation of this Manasseh Nutrition Night, and you can sort of see some of the partners here. But one of the partners, the Local Food Coalition, really believes that in order for people to care about the importance of local foods, first basic nutrition education must be taught, and so it's sort of where we work into this collaboration. And once people know and care about the importance of eating healthy fruit and vegetables, then we believe that they will really feel empowered to learn about the importance of eating local foods. So this Manasseh Nutrition Night sort of brought together all of these pieces, and we really had some amazing partners on this. The Manasseh School District and the San Luis Valley Local Foods Coalition, SLV WIC, the Food Bank Network of the San Luis Valley, the Alamosa Community Gardens. Actually, if we could go back one slide and just make sure. Yep, we're getting everybody in there. And Cooking Matters as well. And we all work together to sort of create this event. Next slide is great. What this event really focused on trying to bring families to the school just around the idea of nutrition. And the school really helped to prepare the food, and they really got the word out with this flyer that you see here. They did an all-school call. They put it in the newsletter and in the newspaper. And we had a wonderful turnout, which, maybe in the larger schools it might not seem like a lot, but we had about 80 to 90 people there. And it's really a lot for a small community like Manasseh, Colorado. And then the Local Foods Coalition supported the night financially. They donated the money to buy the ingredients to create a free dinner. And what we found is that people really come for free food, and so this is a really big part of the Manasseh Nutrition Night. I'm not sure how many people would have come if we didn't have a free dinner. So the Local Foods Coalition also, they help prepare the potato bar beforehand, but also the school let us use their kitchen, and the food service staff cooked the potatoes and other items. Next slide. And so here's just a picture of, we had a potato bar menu. We had an all local food, or as much local food as we could, get in April in the San Luis Valley. We had baked potatoes and grass-fed beef made into a red chili and bolita beans, and then we did a quinoa salad station where people got to make their own quinoa salad. And this, this is a recipe that I've changed a little bit for one of our INEP recipes, and just added quinoa, because quinoa is grown in the San Luis Valley about 10 minutes north of Alamosa, and really a lot of people don't know the amazing qualities of this grain. So we find ourselves trying to educate people about quinoa a lot. Next slide. So this is sort of a picture. It's a little fuzzy. We realized once we got there that nobody had a great camera, so I'm sorry about that. But we had a lot of parents and students, and it was a really, really wonderful turnout. This is sort of a picture of some of the folks eating dinner. But then after dinner, we broke into 4 stations, and they were 15 to 20-minute stations. And the 4 groups rotated through them all. And we really encouraged families to stay for all 4 stations. And usually people might just say, oh, I'm going to wander out the door after the first station. But we had a raffle at the end where they got a ticket at each station, and then we raffled off local food products, quinoa and potatoes and honey that the Local Food Coalition had gathered, and people had donated as well. And the 4 stations, next slide. Actually, this is just me talking right before dinner here, sort of telling people about quinoa and quinoa salad. Next slide. The 4 stations were Shopping on a Budget, which was run by the Food Bank Network of the San Luis Valley and also Cooking Matters. And they, had a 15 to 20-minute presentation just about, how you can go to the grocery store and still buy nutritious foods on your limited income. And they also, it was great for them because Cooking Matters also is signing up people for their classes, and so they were able to sign up enough families to have a class in the Manasseh schools. And then the next station was sugar in soda demonstration. Seems similar to a demonstration that lots of folks do around the state, but again, a really powerful display when you add white sugar into a cup and ask people to drink it or think about it. Anyways, and then we had a green smoothies station where, you know, it was we funneled people from the sugar and soda demonstration to the green smoothies, and they sort of learned the benefits of you know, having a healthy drink. And then the Alameda Community Gardens did plant your own bean sprouts. So everybody went home with a little starter plant just to encourage, you know, growing your own food. Next slide. I think that's, anyways, and this is a picture of the raffle at the end of the night, which was a really, it was a big hit, and the principal was really excited about this. And the event was really fun. So I think next slide. And
Luette, one thing I think that maybe some people wouldn't realize is that the Local Foods Coalition, LiveWell is a very important part of that in the Valley.
Yes, yes.
And I don't, we just take it for granted that everyone knows that.
Well, that's right. Well, we would not, Local Foods Coalition would not be around without LiveWell Colorado. So we, you know, they have been an amazing partner and really creator of sort of the local foods movement down here. So it's been wonderful.
Great. Thank you, Julie and Luette. That's more great stories. And I think the common theme that has resonated in many of our webinars throughout this series and our Farm to School webinars we've done in the past is that importance of partnership, that no single organization can do this alone. And not only do we need all hands on deck, but the work that we do is so much more impactful and more sustainable when we bring in those partners. So it's great to hear that illustrated so well. To me, another great message is that kids as agents of change. You know, we definitely saw it with seatbelts. We saw it with recycling, that kids learned it in school and they brought it home, and that's how the change happened. And our hopes are that by getting kids educated, that they'll also be those agents of change. And you guys are doing great stuff to move that forward. And then I have one last plug before I hand it over to Andrea, and that is really the importance of where the funding comes from for the INEP program does come from the Farm Bill. And so something to remember is you may hear people say, well, the Farm Bill, that's overwhelming. What does that mean to me? It means a lot to these populations, not just for food stamps, but for these nutrition education programs. And those programs have been on the chopping block far too frequently. So just my big advocacy plug to speak up to your to the Colorado delegation and impress upon them the importance of this. So next up, I'll come off my soapbox, Andrea Rouge with Cooking Matters in the Community.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks to LiveWell and the other panelists. And I heard a couple of plugs in there from INEP on Cooking Matters, and I agree. We're also a SNAP-Ed-funded nutrition education program partially, and some other funding from the Colorado Health Foundation. And so, yes, tying back to the Farm Bill, that thanks for bringing that up. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. I quickly just wanted to share about Cooking Matters and do a quick overview of kind of the larger piece that Cooking Matters is a part of. Share Our Strength is a national anti-hunger organization, and that's really where, you know, they've been raising money and hosting events and trying to eradicate hunger with their mission to end childhood hunger, and they knew that they couldn't do that alone just through raising money and telling people that there was a problem. They knew that nutrition education had to be a piece of that and teach people what to do with healthy food. So that's how Cooking Matters was created. And you can see here that Share Our Strength really wants to surround these kids where they live, learn, and play, and that nutrition education is a huge piece of that. You can go to the next slide. And you can see here Share Our Strength strategy is multi-pronged. So access, that orange apple, is really about connecting people with food and making sure that they have access and barriers are reduced to applying for federal programs like SNAP and WIC, and that children have access to school breakfast if their schools are eligible for that, as well as summer meals. When school is out, we know that kids
aren't eating as well in some low-income areas or in different pockets throughout the state because they're not getting those meals at school. But then you see this green apple, that's where Cooking Matters comes in and other nutrition education programs, and we're really teaching families how to shop strategically, how to choose healthier foods, and then a big piece is cooking and how to prepare those meals. If you do have access to fresh produce, what do you do with it? And that's all a piece of our No Kid Hungry campaign, which is also a partnership with Hunger Free Colorado and Governor Hickenlooper's office. So you may have heard about that in your community. We are a statewide program. You can go to the next slide. And so now I'll just get into Cooking Matters. Next slide. So this was a report put out by Cooking Matters a few years ago in Share Our Strength. And it's a qualitative report that really, assumptions really run rampant about the dining habits of low-income Americans, and many people are apt to think that these families are eating fast food every night of the week, or that cooking healthy or eating healthy foods is not really a priority for them. And after this survey, we really found that those assumptions really aren't true. That they do have a desire to eat healthy, and it is a priority for their families, and that many of them are cooking or trying to cook at home every night to provide healthy meals. But the biggest gap was the cost of food. And there were other barriers like access to food and time it takes to prepare healthy meals. But we did see, this was great news for us because we saw that there's a need that Cooking Matters can fill, and that we really can help these families maximize their money at the grocery store and prepare healthy meals for their family. Next slide. Just a bigger focus on this green apple, Cooking Matters is really trying to find these families in the community, and that's through us partnering with agencies like WIC or Head Start or public health communities, schools and rec centers, and faith communities in low-income areas, and teaching them how to do these things that you see here. And we're really trying to empower these families with the knowledge so that it can be lifelong and that it does affect the entire family. Next slide. So Cooking Matters programming has several different programs. So you can see our signature courses. Those are our 6-week signature courses. And we started in Colorado back in 1994. And so you can see the reach that we've had there. And I'll go into each one of these a little bit deeper. Cooking Matters at the Store is a fairly new program for us, but it's had great success and really high demand. And we're leading families on grocery store tours to help them navigate the grocery store, compare brands, read labels, things like that. And then you'll learn a little bit more about toolkits that you can download that are free on our website for anyone who wants to use them and start doing some Cooking Matters programming in their area right away. Next slide. Really what you'll see with Cooking Matters is that we're also engaging the community. So we're looking for culinary volunteers and nutrition professional volunteers, as well as other volunteers who might help us organize classes, do grocery shopping for us, things like that, and really making it a community affair. And so the families will be learning to plan and shop and cook for affordable, healthy meals. Our kids programming is much like INEP, we want to start young, and if they're getting excited about this food, especially the cooking skills, then we know that they're going to be enthusiastic about talking to their parents and families about that and having it be infectious. And then, we're really focused on helping families get the most out of federal programs, whether it's WIC or SNAP. We really want to help them maximize those benefits and know the best way to spend it for their family. Next slide. This next slide is just a map of our programming. So you can see that we are across the state. I know that there's a few people on the call from outside of the Denver area for sure. And if you see a star on the map, we do have a full-time Cooking Matters person doing programming in those areas. And then in some of those other areas, we've got some train the trainer and other creative ways for folks who are interested to partner with us. So please let me know if you have an interest of bringing some of this programming to your area. Next slide. And you can skip on through to the next one. So our 6-week courses are really focused on a learner-centered approach. We know that our families are learning best from learning from each other, kind of a peer learning model. And we have the hands-on learning built in, and facilitated dialogue is just really helping engage the families. Many times we have nutrition professionals who may not be low income themselves teaching these classes, so the families are much more likely to engage with, well, how do you get your kids to eat vegetables, and how do you get your kids to eat vegetables, and they can share that amongst the group with help from the nutrition professional who maybe doesn't have kids or doesn't have a problem getting her kids to eat vegetables, but you know, that just spurs a lot of discussion and camaraderie and really impacts behavior change in these classes. Next slide. So our 6-week courses, you can see that we've got 4 main curriculum for adults, kids, teens, and families. We do focus on adults, particularly the female of the household with young children ages 0 to 5 is really our target audience, but we do serve these other groups and youth. And each week it's based on USDA's My Plate, and families learn about a different food group, which is paired with an hour-long cooking demonstration. Everyone is hands-on, they're in the classroom, they're cooking together. The culinary instructor is showing cooking techniques, simple things like sautéing, or how to, you know, some things like picking the stem off of broccoli or off of celery, but you can still use those celery greens in another meal. And so things like that help them maximize their groceries and their money that they're spending on food every week. We also have a specialized training for child care professionals, which is a training that's focused on helping child care providers, whether they're center-based or home child care providers, on healthy meal times for the kids in their care, and also lots of recipes and tips for following the CAC, the Child and Adult Feeding Program guidelines, which has been really helpful and is also very highly in demand for those providers. You can see also that our adults and families curriculum are offered in Spanish. Next slide. And this is just a little bit of the behavior change that we saw. This is 2011. Our 2012 data is coming out any day now, so I didn't have it quite at my fingertips. And so you can see some of the changes that have happened there. Next slide. Cooking Matters at the store, again, this is new since 2010, and you can go to the next slide. And it's an interactive guided grocery store tour that teaches adults to make real changes to their food shopping habits by helping families learn how to make healthy food choices on a limited budget. And we're really trying to empower families. We know that in the grocery store is kind of that point of purchase. They're trying to decide what's the best choice for me or my family, and we can really grab them at that moment. And it's been really a great program. And this is a program that can easily be scaled across the state, and we're definitely looking for more and more partners to engage with us on this. Next slide. The research-based objectives that are being taught in the Cooking Matters at the Store curriculum. So unit prices and label reading is a huge piece of that, as well as identifying whole grains in the store, and then ways to buy produce on a budget. And we're very strong believers that we know that produce isn't always cheap if it's not in season or if it's traveled a long way, especially to some of our rural areas. But we empower them on what things can you find that are cheap and in season, and then what other things can you find pros and cons about canned or frozen, when frozen is packed at its peak of freshness, and there's a lot of nutrients in that product, and so we want to encourage people to be able to shop that way. Next slide. So just a few numbers here about what we have. We've got a big goal for 2013. We're looking for 4,000 participants to run through the grocery store program. And then if this is something that people on the phone are interested in bringing to their communities, then there's a wide variety of partnerships that we can do, whether it's partnering with your local grocery store, or if we have a train-the-trainer model, so we can train educators to lead tours for their clients or their participants. We have a network of volunteers all across the state who are jumping to lead more tours, and we can connect you with them. Or other creative partnerships, for example, up at CSU, we've linked with a local college group that is advocating around hunger issues, and they wanted to know how they could help. They linked with the local WIC clinic, and they've been working in tandem to provide some tours to those WIC clients for some increased nutrition education for those clients. Next slide. And then I just wanted to let you know that between the courses and the tours, we also do have some things that you can use in your community right now. The next slide shows the link as well as these different toolkits. So we have a toolkit for chefs and kids, which is really a toolkit geared towards culinary professionals, but anyone could use it on engaging your local school, how to work with kids, how to engage kids in a cooking activity or a nutrition activity. There's lots of tips and activities and recipes in there. Exploring food together is another great one geared towards preschool age kids that preschools can use, Head Starts, daycares, and they can use some of the activities, and a lot about tasting new foods in that curriculum. And then Cooking Matters in Your Community is a toolkit for how to lead a cooking demo. We get a lot of asks, and we can't always fulfill them to go out into the community and do cooking demos at health fairs or things like that. So this is a great resource for something like that that you can lead on your own. And then below that small little icon of the handout, there are several downloadable handouts for kids and families that you can also access at this link. So those are a few ways that you can get involved, and thanks very much for having me today.
Great, thank you, Andrea, and thanks to all our presenters. Some incredible content, incredible work that you're all doing, and we will be sharing speaker contacts, the resources that have been mentioned by all the speakers, and a few other resources in our follow-up email to tomorrow. I think do we have any questions that have come in? And if now's your time, if you haven't submitted any questions that you may have, if you could forward those on to us.
So we do have one question. It says, are there efforts in particular with Cooking Matters to connect the senior nutrition programs offered through area agencies on aging and the required nutrition education efforts?
Currently, right now, we have shifted our focus more to families with young children, but we also know that seniors are taking care of young children and grandchildren. So, yes, we do have some ability to serve that population, although it's not our target audience, unfortunately, although we know there's a huge need there. But I'd be happy to talk to whoever put that question out, and maybe we can connect and see what we can do there.
Terrific. So we still have about 10 minutes left. We'll give it a few moments for more questions to come in. And just as a reminder, to ask your questions, you can simply type it into the on-screen control panel in the questions tab. And if you can, please ask or direct the question to a specific presenter. So the next question comes from Colleen. Can nonprofits get trained to teach food for thought to implement with our at-risk youth populations? Cathy, would you like to answer that one?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The question from Colleen is, can nonprofits get trained to teach food for thought to implement with our at-risk youth population?
Absolutely. We actually are looking at a partnership with Mental Health Center of Denver for their community center that's being built next year. So we are interested in reaching out to as many organizations as possible. So yes, the answer is yes.
Wonderful. So we still have, oh, here's another one from Sean. Are there any opportunities to develop programs in Colorado prison systems, especially women inmates who have children at home?
I don't know of any specific ones targeting that. I think all of us have resources that certainly could be used by anyone that's interested in working groups that they're already working with, and could contact any of us with kind of help or guidance on how you might be able to adapt them.
And this is Andrea, and Cooking Matters is currently working with a few probation programs, not necessarily within the prison itself, but or in transitioning from prison to being in the outside world. And we have done a lot of programs like that, which has been extremely beneficial, because some of these folks are back, you know, they may have been in prison for a long time, and then they're coming back into the world and need some of these life skills that we're teaching. And so those have been excellent programs for us, but we haven't targeted anyone in the prison system, but I think, like Julie said, we could.
Okay, terrific. So just a few more moments left if you'd like to ask your questions. And just as a reminder, while we're waiting for more questions to come in, we will be sending a link with a copy of this webinar recording to you at some point tomorrow. And you can also go on to our website, livewellcolorado.org, to access the recording.
So, and I'd like to, this is Lisa, add a plug that you will find in the follow-up email this time a survey that we will be doing following all of these webinars going forward. Please take you can complete it in about 2 minutes to just share quickly with us where you learned about this webinar, how valuable you found it, if you'll be, how you might be using it, and any follow-on questions that you might have. We really do find it invaluable to get that feedback and to help make sure that this is a valuable resource and that we continue to strengthen them and really meet the needs of our community. So without seeing any more questions, I think we'll wrap it up. Again, all of our presenters are very open to hearing from you and bouncing off ideas of how you might be able to leverage the resources that they have developed and the work that they're doing. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any of them and to look at the resources that are provided. And we look forward to hearing from you on future webinars as well. Our next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, June 13th from 1 to 2 p.m. and the topic is community food production, building sustainability in gardening programs to feed neighborhoods. And as I think many of you know, this webinar or series was developed to help promote content that we have on LiveWell Colorado's food system section of our website. I do want to give a little caution that we have gone through a transition with our website as part of our recent culture change campaign. Hope that you've seen some of our commercials on TV that are geared towards some of this education. But if you just be patient with us, that content is there. It just might not be quite as easy to find yet, but we're in the process of getting that right back to where it was. So thank you all for being on the call.